All right. Well, let's get going. First of all, just want to thank everybody for taking the time to attend this session, and more importantly, thank you for your business and your partnership. This webinar is exclusive to our customers and partners, so we truly appreciate your business. And one of the ways we like to show that appreciation is by constantly striving to serve our customers and partners better. And a big part of that is evolving as your needs evolve, and that's what today's really about. So we're going to share a few things. We'll start off with some of the things we're hearing from you and all the conversations we have with our customers and partners. We'll talk about some exciting new developments, and then we'll highlight some of the newer services that you might not be aware that we even offered, and then we'll give you a preview of a new tool that we're going to launch later in the year. So this is a conversation. If you have any questions, just pop them in the chat. We might address some during the session, and the balance will address at the end. I did see someone just popped in that they could not hear. I don't know if that is an issue for everybody, or if other people could jump in the chat and say, yes, we can hear you, or no, we can't. Okay, we are, some people can hear. Okay. Yep. Okay. All right. So I'll assume that most people can hear. Thanks, Dan Rush, for telling us. Appreciate it. Thumbs up. Okay, good. So if you can't hear, it must be something on your end. We are recording the session, and we'll send that out. So at the very least, you'll get that. Okay. So let's talk about our speakers today. From our EMEA headquarters in London, we have Darren Ellis, Regional VP Sales. Stateside, we have Zach Miller, Regional VP Enterprise Sales, and Daniel Nelson, Senior Vice President, Solution Management. And with that, Darren, I'll invite you to take control of the slides and kick us off.
Thanks, Larry. Right, so I'll just take control. So what we're going to start with now is, we're going to start with a little bit of background on what we're hearing from our customers, what we're hearing from our partners, some developments in relation to the Parkplace business. We'll go through some of the enhanced services capabilities, and I'll hand over to Zach at that point. Right. So I thought for context, it would be beneficial to start with a little bit of background on. One of the things that we are very, very proud of, and also very fortunate to have, is the fact that we've got such a large and diverse base of customers. Right. Yeah. So it's circa 21,500 customers now, and what that really means is that that's a lot of voices, that's a lot of opinions, that's a lot of views. It's also a lot of great insights, and it's a lot of great data for us. So I thought we'd kind of start by sharing some of this, right? So I've kind of broken this down into three kind of categories. So if we move to the first category, so we think about one of the constant challenges, right, of technology leadership is how do you balance the complexity of legacy infrastructure, a diverse and kind of multi-cloud strategy from a cost and complexity perspective, right? And it presents a whole host of different dynamics that you as partners are helping customers to address, or customers are seeking to address for the business, right? So we think about that legacy equipment often invariably means that you need legacy skills. And those can be somewhat challenged to access, right? It's tough to retain legacy skills because of the advancements in technology, the pace at which technology moves along. And ultimately you mix that into the modern of hybrid cloud. You think of all the other complexities of the modern technology, AI. How do I introduce AI to my business? And you have a very, very diverse set of challenges that you need to address. You think about it from a workload perspective, and you think, okay, so my workloads, whether they're on-prem right now, and I'm thinking about what's the most appropriate place for these, right? Is it a IaaS platform? Is it a public cloud? Is it best I keep these on-prem? Right? You got lots of different considerations that you need to work through based on the demands of the business, the type of workload, the security, the compliance, etc., etc. And overall, you think about data in the context of this. like whether you're based in North America and you're headquartered in North America, whether you're a global organization or whether you're pan-regional, you got to think about, how do I protect my data? How do I secure it? Am I in a region where I really need to consider data sovereignty and I cannot have any of my data leave my region? And what are the compliance issues that I need to address and I need to be considerate of? When I think about all of this in a broader mix, that infrastructure, irrespective of wherever it resides, on-prem, whether it be as a service in the public cloud, ultimately it's just giving me a platform to secure and process my data, and data is king, right? So we hear an awful lot about these challenges in the market. If we move that forward, we think about the kind of operations of a business. Now we start to layer on the complexities and the challenges of, how do I maintain business operations on a 24/7 basis? And invariably, businesses are being challenged to deliver 24/7 services, right? Sometimes even if it's not necessarily a 24/7 business. So you're either maintaining it, growing and scaling, or you've got to create it, right? So think about that in the context of invariably an IT budget. It's still somewhere in the region, the statistic of 60 to 70% of an IT budget is spent keeping the lights on. Right, that's still a huge proportion of your budget that is not necessarily geared towards transformation, innovation, and that's a challenge, right? How do I deliver that 24/7 service? Invariably, being asked to do more with less. I have to be considerate of the people, and I have to be considerate of the budget. Do I have the staff? Do I have the skills? Particularly if we think about this, like from the context of whether I'm local, regional, or global in terms of my footprint and what I need to deliver back to the business. Compound that with some of the challenges of tool fragmentation, control and process fragmentation. You very, very quickly get to a picture where you can see and start to understand some of those really challenging dynamics of how can we deliver and maintain a 24/7 business? How do we keep the lights on whilst driving and trying to fuel innovation? And take advantage of the proportion of the budget that fuels the investment to achieve that. And ultimately, from an experience perspective, if you're not geared up and you're not one of the few organizations that has the right resources, has the appropriate budget, has all the skills, has those positioned as required, invariably the impact is that in these multi-technology states, these multi-platform states, these kind of hybrid infrastructures, the impact to the incident resolution can also be diminished because you've got so many layers of complexity involved. And then beyond that, I've kind of touched loosely upon this in the in the prior kind of statements, is people are essential for all of this to happen, right? So do I have the right resource amount in my business for infrastructure and IT? Do I have the right skills? Invariably, I'm being pressured to do more with less. Am I able to keep pace with the needs of the business? Invariably, my budget isn't keeping pace with the demands of the business, though. And invariably, there's a very finite balance of how much you can push and challenge with like the infrastructure teams, the IT teams, the dev teams, before you end up with a kind of the seesaw of that optical being one-sided. And invariably, it's vitally important to protect, defend, and support and look after the people. And we know it's an extremely challenging market to retain the right people, the right skills, the right resources, but also to recruit those in the event that you have the ability to expand. Now, those are some of the things that we're hearing from customers, and we'll talk more about some of the capabilities that we are very, very, very proud to have to support customers and partners addressing these challenges. And if we kind of move through now into some of the recent developments at Park Place. So the first part here is the launch of our new global headquarters in Cleveland, Ohio. So I kind of think about this as this represents to me, to the business internally, but to you as customers and partners, as a fairly major and strategic investment for the future of the service delivery and setting a new benchmark for, I suppose, like our operational excellence across the business. It's a flagship facility. It's effectively a center of excellence, and forgive my light for going off. It kind of brings together state-of-the-art labs, advanced sparing infrastructure, enterprise operations centers, a cutting-edge liquid cooling demonstration environment, and it's all designed effectively to help drive deeper capability, service reliability, and innovation. So I see this as a reflection of our unwavering commitment to providing world-class support to you, our customers, and our partners in the promise for service excellence. Now, if we continue with the expansion and we think about the Park Place business, global organization, again, like we're very, very fortunate that our capability of coverage is vast. Right? Whether you think about that in the context of our HQ in North America, whether you think about that, in terms of Latin America, EMEA, and APAC, we are a true global business. And part of that, means that we also need to continue to listen to our customers, and we need to adapt to the demands of our customers. And part of that kind of global expansion and the commitment to that around service excellence is to also evolve the business, right? So what we're showing in here is that outside of all of the entities and the presence that we have two new markets that we are standing up legal entities in. Taiwan, which is a very much a technology centric country, and Italy is a natural extension and evolution of our kind of core European presence within the DACH region, and kind of represents strategic growth, kind of directly aligned with those evolving needs of our customers, partners, enabling us to deliver that localized support, fast response times, deep alignment with the kind of regional market, and again something that we're extremely proud to be able to make these investments in to continue to improve and retain relevance for the demands and ultimately like what we're being asked to deliver and support for our customers and partners. That's something else that we're also very, very proud of. Is the latest acquisition that we made of CSI, and there's a statement here from Chris Adams, our kind of CEO, about the value that this brings, and the ability that this now provides. And I won't read this, of course, but the combined strength of both organisations that have a great amount of industry experience and pedigree of delivering and helping customers address the problems. The combined strength of those is really, really valuable for us to continue to help to meet the needs and the demands of our customers, right? So helping you to drive more transformation, take more control, and ultimately expanding on the capabilities from both organizations in customers and partners that already trust us, now in a combined state with a multitude of different services. Now, the final kind of slide for me before I hand over to Zach is, is really kind of talking about some of those next level services, and this is particularly relatable to CSI and now how that contextualized in the capabilities that we now possess overall as the Park Place business. So when you think about this here, you've got a multitude of these new infrastructure managed services. So as part of this expanded portfolio, we now have the ability to deliver this comprehensive suite of cloud-enabled infrastructure and resilient solutions. Right, and you'll see them here on the screen, from IaaS, disaster recovery as a solution, as a service, DPaaS, so backup and recovery effectively, and forms of public cloud. So when you think about this in the context of one of the most recent kind of analyst publications, was that I think by the end of 2026 that 90% of all companies will operate some form of hybrid cloud. So effectively, these services are going to help customers and partners to scale infrastructure on demand, safeguard critical data, and recover rapidly from any form of disruption, right, whilst kind of reducing that operational burden on managing all of those complex environments. So whether you're modernizing infrastructure, strengthening your continuity posture, or are considering entering into that kind of hybrid or multi-cloud strategy, we have the experience, the capability, the agility, the control, and everything around it to ensure that we can help you with that transformation with utter confidence. Now, at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand over to Zach, who's going to kind of walk you through more of the service portfolio.
Thanks, Darren.
Zach, over to you.
Yeah, appreciate the time for everybody. I wanted to talk today a little bit about a couple of different unique offerings that we have, and kind of similar to what, along the line of what Darren had talked about. We're trying to bring additional things to our customers that provide value, bring additional support, and are additions to what we already do for our customers today. And one of the things that I'm talking about, the first thing I'm talking about today, is our day one support. And this actually started many, many years ago for a specific customer in my geography in Minnesota, and it's expanded over the years. But similar to many of our products, it came by customer demand. And what day one support essentially means is Park Place has the capabilities for certain products in your infrastructure, primarily around x86 and networking, to support the product new right out of the box, and foregoing the manufacturer warranty. And so there's a lot of reasons why customers would do this, but some of the primary reasons that we were pulled into this space, and have expanded here drastically, is the support that they're getting, that our customers are getting from the manufacturer, isn't necessarily up to the level of support that Park Place provides. Park Place has a fantastic call center that's easy to get a hold of. The manufacturer is not always easy to get a hold of. We have an automated ticketing process, and so when you engage a ticket with the Park Place system, having the automated ticketing system, we already know the system's broken. We already know what's happened, and we're typically calling you to arrange time to come out and fix the system. When our customers would engage with the manufacturer, they didn't know the system was broken. Our customers were notifying them that system being broken. And typically the first thing that the OEM or provider would ask for would be the logs. And so there was typically a time that was taken for the customer then to go gather those logs, and then the logs would have to be pulled. Typically, they're no longer on the phone with the manufacturer, and so the logs would be sent to the manufacturer. Then there's a period of time for the manufacturer to put their hands on the logs, actually get somebody dedicated to looking at them and figuring out what the problem is. And what we found is that that delay in time was delaying service incidents for our customers. And so that was one of the areas that created a challenge. Park Place was able to fix. And then lastly, once the incident actually got engaged and the customer would go out and deliver, or the OEM would go out and deliver the service, they weren't actually dispatching a lot of times their own people. The engineers that arrived weren't necessarily the most skilled engineers for the products that they were working on, whereas Park Place was dispatching W-2 Park Place employees to service the incidents. And so what our customers had said is, can you support these systems brand new out of the box for us and bring us all the value that you brought us from a third party maintenance perspective historically after the warranty expired? And so we've now launched the offering. It's eligible for your HP ProLiant generation 10 and 11 servers. It's available for Dell PowerEdge. It's available for your Cisco Nexus 9Ks, Cisco UCS, M5, M6 devices, and now even M7 devices. And so a lot of the devices that are brand new from the manufacturer are eligible for third-party maintenance direct from Park Place. And the reason customers are doing it is because we're able to provide a better level of service. Let me tell you a really quick story about a small retailer in Arkansas. But they had 30,000 devices with Park Place today, and they had 30,000 devices with the manufacturer. And what they had found is when they engaged a service incident with Park Place, it took them roughly 15 minutes from the time they engaged the incident to understand what the problem was and have our people ready to dispatch to the customer site. When they would engage with the OEM, there was roughly 8 touch points that took place from the time the ticket was opened till the engineer was ready to be dispatched. And it wasn't 15 minutes to get through those 8 touch points, it was roughly 3 hours. And if you can imagine, when you have 30,000 devices that you're supporting, they're not placing 1 or 2 service tickets a day. There's more like 30 to 40 incidents a day. And so when the customer started to look at the amount of time that their team was wasting engaging with that manufacturer, they actually chose to, in addition to having already paid for manufacturer warranty, buy maintenance services from Park Place simply to reduce the amount of time that their team was spending on these incidents. And so the last piece, that's kind of new from the manufacturers, but I think a lot of you as customers are probably starting to run into this, and this was certainly something for our partner in Arkansas. A lot of the manufacturers now included with their maintenance contracts on the x86 devices have what's called CRUs, or customer replaceable units. And so as part of your warranty with that device, when you call in on something simply replaceable like a disk drive, even if you have purchased full support with engineering assistance, the manufacturer may choose to just dispatch you out the part and not actually send anybody out to help install that part. And so that's another area that Park Place was able to provide additional value, is if you buy support from us and you need an engineer to install the part, we are always eligible and available to dispatch that engineer to install the part for you. So a lot of our customers have remote locations, they're more difficult to get to. And this was creating a challenge essentially for the customers, that didn't have people to install the parts at those locations. So not sure if any of you guys are experiencing that, but it's a fantastic service. And in addition to all the fantastic benefits of service, getting faster response, being able to work with the Park Place engineers that you know and like, we've also found there's significant cost savings. So this is the math for a single server, and the difference if you were to purchase that device from the manufacturer and put on the manufacturer uplifted warranty service. So you take the base warranty and you maybe add on a care pack or some type of extended maintenance to take it to 24 by 4 hour response. If you choose to do that versus work with Park Place, it's going to cost you roughly $10,000 more over a 6 year period to maintain that individual server. And I'm assuming most of our customers on the phone probably aren't running individual servers, they're probably running many servers. And so you can see over the life of the product, not only can we provide you a high level of service right out of the box, but we can likely save you some money along the way, and help you simplify kind of the support of the x86 environment across your total infrastructure. One of the other really cool things that we've started to announce to our customers has been the software support, something we've been doing for many years. But if you think about, we're a third-party hardware maintenance provider, and one of the other things that goes along with that is the software. And so whether it be the operating system, the hypervisor on your HCI or your server environment, or even some of the applications now, Park Place has the ability to provide some of the same type of capabilities in your software support space. So we're able to help with configuration assistance, troubleshooting. If you upgrade the hardware and you have compatibility issues, our level 3 experts are available to help with those types of things. And so very similar to what we would expect from us in our third-party maintenance space. We're able to offer server, storage, HCI infrastructure, many different products you can see kind of listed on the right. I won't read through all of them, but we've had a lot of interest and success around the Nutanix. Customers have been relatively frustrated with some of the tactics from VMware, and so we've been able to help some customers navigate those areas. And so this is a new offering for us as of about 3 years ago now, and continues to expand, but something that a lot of our customers weren't aware of, right? So they think of us for hardware maintenance. They don't always think of us for software. And we are able to provide kind of the full suite now of services around supporting your infrastructure. So Darren alluded to earlier in the presentation, customers are still spending between 60 to 70% maintaining the legacy infrastructure. And we're trying to help customers transition to being able to spend more of their time on innovation and kind of the next generation inside of the data center. And so we're here to help you keep that legacy infrastructure up and running effectively, and most importantly, more cost effective than what a lot of the manufacturers do today.
Hey, Zach, before we move on, there's a question relating back to day one, I believe.
Yeah.
says, but that is extra cost if they use you during coverage by manufacturer after year 3 or 5 support. That would make sense. I think we kind of covered it here with the slide you have on, but I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that comment.
For sure. Yeah, great question, and thank you for that. So it's not an additional cost. So that my example, the story I told, that customer chose to spend additional money because of the service benefits that they were receiving. But actually, the way it works essentially is when you go to buy your servers from the manufacturer, from your partner likely, you simply tell them that you don't want any type of uplifted support with the server. So if you're buying an HP ProLiant server, the when your partner goes in to kind of pick your SKUs and build the server components for you inside of that device, that server comes with a standard kind of next business day type warranty, and that's not chargeable. It's included with the price of the server. But most of our customers, that service level that they get with kind of the basic warranty doesn't meet the demands inside of inside of the data center, right? It's not guaranteed SLA response. It takes them a couple days to probably get you the parts. And so while it's a warranty in a sense, it's not necessarily SLA data center caliber service. And so what a lot of our partners do and or customers is they add on an enhanced software package or enhanced maintenance package. HP has called it the care pack. There's the names continually change, but it's basically the uplifted service. And so you can go to like a 9x5 next business day service, or you can even go up to a 24/7 4-hour response. Some customers even offer white glove or additional enhancements on their service. But you have the ability as a customer to say, I just want the base warranty. I don't want to purchase any of the enhanced services above the base warranty. And that's when you would then contact Park Place, and Park Place would essentially provide you that enhancement or that service level type warranty on the device. And we are able to then take on support kind of day one right out of the box, and we're able to provide everything that the manufacturer is able to provide from a day one perspective, and we're able to do it at a lower kind of year over year incremental cost than what the uplift would have been with the manufacturer. So it's actually cheaper. It's not a cost above and beyond what you would have spent. And you might ask, like, if that's the case, then maybe maybe you void my warranty when Park Place goes out and works on this system. Maybe we void that basic warranty and all those types of things. That's also not that shouldn't be a concern of yours. And the reason why, number one, Park Place is assuming full responsibility of the server. So just like the servers we already support for you today, after the warranty had expired, if the server breaks or for any reason is not working, it's our responsibility to get that server back up and working or replace it for you. But in addition, the manufacturers have all made firmware in code related to these x86 devices publicly available. So that allows me to provide you the exact same, actually a higher level of service than what they would provide you. I can provide you the parts. We definitely have the technical expertise, and I can even provide you the code. So in the event we need to do a code upgrade, that's all publicly available, and we have access to it just like it were under warranty with the manufacturer. So it's really a zero risk way to drive cost out of the business. And again, the reason our largest customers are doing it isn't even the cost savings, it's because the Park Place service is so much better. So feel free to ping in again if I didn't address your question, but I think those were I appreciate you backing me up there, Larry, and maybe those were a couple of things that I missed on, but some key pieces to the day one support for sure. All right, Larry, you just let me know if I need to back up again, and we can
Yeah, we'll
we
do.
can
That's,
take a step
I think,
back.
a great thorough answer. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. So I think I covered off on this slide. So I think I was moving off to the software support. So we offer software support, server, storage, hyper-converged infrastructure across, operating system, hypervisor layer, and even some applications. And why, maybe back to the question that was just asked on the day one, like, why would you use Park Place in this space? And it's some of the same reasons that you guys would use us for third-party maintenance. We provide a very high level of service, so we're using our own people to deliver all of the technical expertise. You're dispatching all of that service through the same call center and means that you're used to using through Park Place. Very easy access. Type support. We're more cost effective than the manufacturer. And so we're going to save you somewhere between 30 and 40% on these maintenance contracts. And a lot of times we're more responsive, right? Because we're in the business of providing service and we're not trying to sell you the new software thing. Our focus is on providing a very, very high level of service. And so that's what you're going to get basically if you work with us. And so that's, if you have any of the products that were on the previous slide, I know we're going to make this available. Please contact your rep. We're happy to discuss, our capabilities, the nuances of the different products, and how we might be able to help in certain areas. One of the things I want to make sure I don't miss on this slide that's a bit unique to Park Place is like you're accustomed to, you get SLAs with the services that you purchase from Park Place. So we have different response times. You can see severity level 1 through 4. And obviously we have a 9x5 offering. We also have a 24x7 offering. You can be in contact as quickly as 30 minutes with a level 3 expert to help you with your problems. The one unique thing about us here is when you're calling in to notify us of your issue, the customer is the one that dictates the severity of the incident. So if this is the Sev one in your eyes and you need us on the phone ASAP, you dictate it's a Sev one and we treat it accordingly. So the severity is not something that we come up with. It's something that the customer is able to identify for us.
All right, Zach, a couple other questions have rolled in. Let's see here. Does Park Place have access to firmware and software updates for the life of the support for the servers? And then somebody followed up with, I would be curious if Cisco iOS upgrades are also available.
Great, very good questions. And so the short answer to both of those things is for the products that are eligible for day one support, yes. So we are able to provide you firmware for as long as it is announced from the manufacturer on the eligible products that we support. And I would put iOS updates and firmware in the same bucket. So Cisco, from an iOS update perspective, the products that we are targeting for that day one support are products that have public iOS updates and that are eligible for iOS updates for the life of the product. So it wouldn't be anything that would have iOS updates that are tied to a SmartNet contract. So yeah, the products that are eligible in our world from again, the Catalyst are the Nexus 9Ks from a Cisco perspective, so lifetime iOS updates. And then from a server perspective, HP ProLiant, Dell PowerEdge, Cisco UCS, and even a lot of the other, if you think about the x86 manufacturers, Asus and Quanta, and really, if it's in the x86 space, it's probably a good fit as well. But in the Cisco space, it's primarily around the Nexus 9Ks.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And if there's no questions on software support here, Larry, I think I can dive into liquid cooling.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, game on. So the need for liquid cooling, similar to Darren, I'm not going to read you this here, but there's an excerpt there from Bob Johnson, a VP analyst at Gartner. But we've been spending a lot of time in the liquid cooling space over the last number of years, and we've seen really the demand from our customers. I'm assuming some of you are starting to get into the AI space. There's been a lot of discussion. Buzzwords. I was in an Uber on a trip last week, and it seemed to be somebody that didn't know very much about IT. But when I told him that I was in IT, the very first thing he asked about was, did I work in AI? And of course I said, kinda. We're on the edge of the AI business. So the need for liquid cooling. So there's obviously these new servers out there that are generating a ton of heat and taking a lot of power. And And so the need for liquid cooling is kind of being driven by those devices primarily. And here's some of the things and some of the benefits of what liquid cooling brings to customers. So obviously it helps you cool the device better. Because it helps you cool the device more efficiently, it probably drives some cost savings. Some of the customers have situations where they're running out of space in a data center, right? And so this allows us to allow more density inside a specific rack, so we can fit more equipment in a smaller space. Um, kind of hyperscalers and some of the long, if you're producing a lot of data and you're looking at the long-term effects of this, the lower operating cost of using liquid to cool the devices is an attractive feature. And then overall, it's just more environmentally friendly. We're using less power, and in certain situations, we're actually able to capture some of the heat that's being generated by these devices, and then use that heat in other places, like heat buildings, for example. So there's a lot of benefits, a lot of reasons why we would want to do this. There's three primary types out there today that exist for liquid cooling. The first type you see on the left there, that's rear door. So cooling basically provides fluid to the rear door of a rack, and then that then pushes the cool air through the system. The middle is direct to chip liquid cooling. So that's where you'd use like a cooling distribution unit to push cold fluid into a cold plate that's connected directly to the CPU or GPU, and then the hot fluid would return to the cooling distribution unit. And then the one all the way on the right is the immersion cooling tank. And so that's where you actually take, think of a rack. You almost take the rack, flip it on its side, and then immerse it completely in fluid. And then you circulate the fluid out of the tank and then into a chiller outside of the building. So there's a number of different ways to accomplish liquid cooling inside of the data center. The reason you would consider Park Place for liquid cooling is kind of unique. So we are on the forefront and been working on liquid cooling for quite a while, but we're the people that can help you make it easier. And so we have partnered with many of the manufacturers and ODMs and OEMs in the industry today. And so we work with the tank providers, we work with the server manufacturers, we work with the cold plate folks, we work with the cooling distribution unit folks. And we have the capabilities to kind of work from the beginning. So from the design and the procurement of the devices through helping you retrofit the servers, removing the heat sinks and putting on cold plates, or getting the devices ready to be immersed in liquid, through the actual deployment of those tanks and servers into the environment, so we can help install the systems, we can help install the servers after we've retrofitted the servers for the tanks or the liquid cooling methodology that you've chosen. We can include the different partners for these different areas of expertise to help pull all of that stuff together. And then one of the unique things, and this is going to be a real advantage for Park Place into the future, is as these servers, as AI takes off and becomes more mainstream, and as more people have more GPUs, it's going to become more common that we're going to need to use liquid cooling to cool these servers. Park Place, as you would expect now, has the ability to maintain these servers. So whether you have a cold plate on a server and you're using it in a direct to chip liquid cooling model, or whether you have that server turned on its side and completely immersed in fluid, Park Place has technicians now that are trained to be able to work on the servers that are in those systems. And so in the event we need to pull the server out and do a repair or any of those types of things, we have all of the capabilities to help you throughout the process of maintaining and working on the device. So kind of a full life cycle. And happy to talk with you all. We're in a lot of conversations right now, from manufacturing specific equipment for customers to helping customers deploy this, to being their delivery arm globally, to help them take their products to other customers. And so there's a lot of activity right now, and we're having a lot of discussion. So very would be very eager to talk to anybody that's interested in liquid cooling and considering that as an option, to try to drive cost savings from a power perspective, as well as trying to cool these systems now they're generating so much heat. I talked for a moment there, Larry, and I wasn't able to keep up if there were any questions. Am I able to keep rolling, or should I pause for a moment?
One question, liquid cooling AI, have you used this technology in other manufacturing applications, meaning keeping shop floor equipment cool and harvesting the heat? I don't think we're doing anything outside of in the data center. I know reusing the heat is something that is, has a lot more momentum in EMEA than it does in North America, but I don't think we have anything else to share there. So I think we can move forward. Yeah.
All right, got it. So I think we're on to the full portfolio of services that Park Place is able to offer now today. And so um, I wasn't necessarily going to unpack this entire slide, but as you can see, we have a vast area that we're able to help our customers today. And so we've touched on some of the maybe newer areas that you maybe didn't know about. But happy to take on any questions or help with any of these areas. Larry, I wasn't sure if there was more you wanted me to cover off on this one.
No, I think that was it. Just, that we've been adding a lot over the years, and it's hard to keep track of, and just wanted to give folks a 30,000-foot view of everything. So I think you nailed it.
Got it. And I think with that, I'm handing it over to Daniel.
All right. Thanks, Zach. So appreciate all the questions and the interactivity. So please keep it coming. So now we're going to shift focus to kind of things that are coming next. Like what are we thinking about in Park Place? What problems are we trying to solve? And where do we feel like we can allow and enable our customers to kind of have more control and insight over their environments? And so I'm going to talk a little bit today about something that's coming in January 2026. We're going to have some previews in the fall as well, something that we're calling Parkview Asset Intelligence. And at heart, what that is leveraging the data that Park Place has across our entire ecosystem, as well as the specific data that we have about your devices to answer a core question, which is what is the health of that particular device? And so, for example, we commonly think about our devices in terms of their age. Like this device is 12 months, 24 months, 36 months old. And at some point in time, we decide that device needs to be retired and it needs to be replaced. But the real question is, how much life does that device still have left? And that is a very different question. Now, we wanted to ask and answer that question for ourselves. Like, we're in the business of supporting your devices. And so it's really important for us to understand what are the health of those devices, what do they need, what do we need to stock in terms of inventory, what are the things that are likely to fail. So we started to ask that question for ourselves. And then we also realized that that is a really important data point to provide to our customers. And so we then want to start with, like, what is the customer pain? What are the things that we've heard from people like you in terms of what they're struggling with? And there's really kind of three key things. One is they want to get the most value out of their current investments. You spend a bunch of money on hardware. How do I continue to sweat those assets while I'm getting the performance that I need to support my business? The second, what do I do with my limited time and resources to most effectively increase the longevity and health of those devices? And third, how do I making the best decisions I have with the money that I've got in terms of what to replace? And so we want to be able to provide some analytics, some real data, both specifically and also in the aggregate, to you, our customers, to better answer those questions. And so when we looked to try to solve that problem, we wanted to do it leveraging a lot of the current, most available, most emerging technologies, especially around AI. And when I'm talking about AI, I'm meaning both machine learning, predictive analytics, as well as utilizing large language models and generative AI to try to solve those problems. So the best thing about AI is that you can take all these disparate data sources, different structures, different longevities, different formats, bring them together, and then start to ask really cogent questions across them. So the best way to understand this is really starting at what is the data that we're feeding into the model. And there are two types of data. One is aggregate data. So this is across all devices that Park Place supports like that. So let's just take an example. Let's just take a Dell PowerEdge. And so we have a lot of Dell PowerEdges under maintenance. For 20 years, we've been supporting Dell and HP and all those vendors, and we have a lot of historical data, not just across Dell as it's gone through all its generations, but also, for example, about specific models. What fails? What doesn't fail? What is the history of those devices? So we feed all that ticket data every time a power supply has failed, every time a motherboard needs replaced, every time a DIMM needs to be replaced. We feed that into the model. We feed the overall device reliability. What is the period of time that this device usually runs for? And not based upon what is the manufacturer telling me, what is the OEM telling me, but real historical in the data center, being used, being maxed out all the time, barely running, like all the different things. What is the longevity and what is the expected lifespan of that particular device? And they would also bring in, for example, like what is the opportunity for component failure? Do the power supplies on this fail a lot? Do we have particular problems with, like, one of the things that we found in this analysis is that we are identifying like manufacturing faults, in particular, lots of RAM, and be able to flag that as well. So we have all this aggregate data. Now then we combine that with device specific data. So that is tickets for that individual device. What has failed, what is not? Where is it? So one of the things that we found is that longevity devices is in part dependent upon what part of the country or the world that you're in on. There are different profiles for longevity depending upon location. And then the last piece, and this is especially important, for example, our Parkview hardware monitoring customers, actual real telemetry of that device. Is it seeing a lot of spikes in CPU and memory? Are you seeing faults that are being generated, even minor faults that are indicative of impending failure? All the kind of like, I think we capture something like 300 different metrics of that particular device, and that all goes into the model. So we feed all of that into both a LLM as well as a predictive machine learning model, and then it outputs kind of 3 categories of very kind of specific, we believe, useful information for you. The first one is an aggregate score. So this is a way for you to very quickly, very easily kind of get a hint of, like, is it good? Is it average? Is it bad? Is it critical? Is this something I need to worry about? Is this something I potentially don't need to worry about? The second is that based upon that, so we give you an analysis as to why that particular device scores in that way. So drilling down, is this because we're seeing telemetry kind of move all over the place as an impending failure? Is it that because that this device in general has reached its more than expected lifespan? Or is it, for example, like running just fine and you don't need to worry about that? And then providing the data audit behind that so that you can see as a customer kind of like what is driving that analysis itself. One of the things that we got feedback on from a lot of customers that we showed this as an early preview to is they really wanted to know a lot of specifics. It wasn't just enough to be able to say, like, here's the things we found, but they want to know why that is, what's going on, and how do we go solve that. So just a little bit of what this is going to look like. So we have a new look and feel for our Central Park portal that's coming out this summer. The Eagle Eye and the PDAI analysis is going to be part of this. So being able to see just from the portal itself, what's critical, what's medium, what's good, what do you need to worry about, having that kind of at your fingertips. Of course, it like drills down then into the specifics. So having a view of your assets, where are your criticals, have it be sortable, and then be able to drill down on the particulars so that you can see what's going on. But more importantly, I think to all of this, while this is really good information to have, what we recognize from our customers is we've got to go one step further. And that further step is to not just tell you what's wrong, tell you what you need to pay attention to, but giving you specific recommendations as to what we believe will improve the health of your devices. Ultimately, what we want to be able to do is to provide you the information you need in order to make those decisions based upon those 3 pain points. What should I think about replacing? What should I think about keeping longer term? What should I be doing in order to make sure that my hardware lasts as long as is feasible? And then how am I spending my money in the best way possible to deliver the business outcome? So I wanted to preserve some time so we can ask questions. So I'm now going to turn it back over to Larry, where we can go into some special offers and then answer any questions that might come up. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. Good stuff. Yeah, just a couple offers we will put out there. First one is a Clearview assessment, and this may be something that your Park Place rep has already contacted you about. I don't know, Drew, if you can click the slide forward one, please. But a Clearview assessment is a free, no commitment offer to take a look at your networking environment. Back one, Drew. There you go. So it's pretty simple. You just send us a list of your network assets, and we'll, give you a point of view on which devices are really good candidates to be moved to third-party support, which devices you should absolutely keep with the OEM, and then there's some that maybe fall in the middle. We need a little bit more information, but it's a pretty simple way to identify some very significant cost savings in your network support strategy. The second one is a liquid cooling assessment. Again, this is another totally free, no commitment. We know a lot of folks are really, early on in the journey, with liquid cooling, and as Zach said, we've been at it a while now. So we're happy to hop on the phone for an hour or so with your team and share some of our knowledge. I think one of the big things is, which type of liquid cooling. We talked about, 3 different technologies today: immersion, rear door, and direct to chip. They all have their pros and cons, and it really depends on your use case, which is best for you, and other elements in your environment. So, if you're interested in that, just pop a note in the chat or reach out to your Park Place sales rep, and we'll get something on the calendar and happily share the knowledge we've gleaned over the last couple of years.